Hello, sixth graders. This is lesson 1.3, determining part and whole in percents. It's found on page 8 of your M2-T2 percents tab. If you're working in the workbook, it is page M2-137. All right, we're going to go through the first couple of activities in this lesson, so just follow along while you do. We're going to skip this first getting started part. So let's go through these and let's get to activity 3.1, calculating a percent of a quantity. Percents are really important. We use them all of the time in money aspects and buying things. And we can also find percents to describe just about any situation. And so finding a percent of a number is an important skill, a lifelong skill that we want to make sure we know. There are some different ways to do so. You can see some different students and their ways of calculating a percent of a number. You've got Kendra here who says, since 25% of 44 means multiplying 25 over 100, times the quantity, I use the fraction method. So to find 25% of 44, she takes 25 over 100, and that, if she simplifies, becomes 1/4, and then she multiplies 1/4 times 44 to get 11. So that's one strategy. You've got Hank, who I like decimals much better than fractions. So what Hank does is turns 25/100ths, because that's our percent, into a decimal, and then he just multiplies it times 44. And since we use a calculator, you're allowed to use a calculator, Hank's method is probably a very accurate, reliable one, and one we're going to use a lot. So don't forget about Hank's method here. Ryan's method, 25% is easy to do in my head. I know that 50% or half of 44 is 22. So 25 is half of 50. So half of 22 would be 11. So he's doing some mental math. Also a great strategy to be able to do mental percents in our head, because we don't always have our calculator, phone, whatever with us, and we just want to be able to calculate things quickly. So Ryan's method's another one that is important to use. Simon, he says, since 25% is the same as 1/4, I just divide by 4. All right, that's a good strategy. And we've got Pamela. I prefer to use benchmarks of 10 and 5%. The benchmark fractions, those common fractions that we talked about in the last lesson. So 10% of 44 is 4.4. She knows that. 20% is 2 times 10%. So 2 times 4.4, which is 8.8. 5% is half of 10%, which is 2.2. Therefore, if you add 20% plus 5%, or these numbers, you'd get 11. Notice they all get the same answer, just different methods for calculating it. If you're really strong with mental math, you're probably going to lean towards more of those mental math strategies. If you're kind of like, oh, that's not my strong suit, you can always count on Hank's method, and that's one that we're going to practice here quite a bit. Okay, we're going to skip these questions. They're just asking, when would be the most efficient time to use each of these methods? Well, we kind of talked about that, different times, that some might be more useful than others. So I want to scroll down to number 3 here. Determine the percent of each quantity. So I'm going to first start by showing Hank's method, because Hank's method we can always count on. Hank's method tells us that we always make this percent into a decimal. Well, remember, 7% is this, 7/100ths, which looks like that as a decimal, right? 7/100ths. And so to do that, the word of, always from here on out in math, is going to mean multiply. So when you see the word of in math, you know, oh, hey, that's speaking code, that's speaking math for multiply. So that means I'm taking 0 0.07 or 7/100 times 80 to get my answer. And 0.07 times 80 equals 5.6. Now another strategy I could have done for this, a mental strategy for 80, I could have taken, let's see, I could have taken 10% of 80, which would be 8, that'd be 10%, right? And half of 10% is 5%, right? So that would be 4. And then I need 2 more percents. Well, gosh, that kind of gets a little tricky. So 1% of this number would be 0.8. So I would have to add 4 plus 0.8 plus 0.8, because I would want 5, 6, a total of 7%. And if I add those up, this would be 16, and 4 plus 1 is 5. I'm going to get my same answer, 5.6. So I might choose to do it mentally, but like I said, Hank's method we can always rely on because we're allowed to use those calculators. Let's try the next one. 15% using Hank's method. Again, I know 15% is 15 over 100, or 15 hundredths, so it looks like a decimal. I know now in math of means multiply, and I'm multiplying it by 55. So I can punch that out on my calculator, and I can end up with 8.25. Mental math, if I use my benchmark fractions, I can take 10% of 55, which is 5.5, because all I have to do is move the decimal. And half of 10% is 5%, and half of 5.5, or half of 55, would be 27.5, so it'd be 2.75 would be half, and 10% plus 5% would equal 8.25. Same answer. Hopefully by now you're deciding, do I like Hank's method? Do I like more of the mental math strategy? Start to kind of form an opinion on which one kind of makes more sense to you. Why don't you go ahead and try to pause the video, try the next 2 on your own, and then come back and see if you're right. Okay. Hopefully you tried the next 2. Let's see how you did. First of all, I'd say 12% is like 12 over 100, which is 12 hundredths. I know of means multiply, and I've got the number 320. So when I punch that out on my calculator, 0.12 times 320, I get 38.4. And D, 8%, is like 8 over 100, which is 8 hundredths. I know of means multiply, 300. So when I punch that out, 0.08 times 300, I get 24. I obviously like Hank's method best, you can tell. Let's keep moving on. Oh, we got a few more here. Go ahead and pause the video and try these. Okay, we're back. Let's continue on. I'm going to use Hank's method on all of these. 75 hundredths times 240, and 0.75 times 240 would be 180, and 37% over 100 is 0 and 37 hundredths. Of means times 120, and when I take 0.37 times 120, I get 44.4. 150%, that's like 150 out of 100, 150 hundredths is actually like 1.5, all right, times, of means times, 27, and that equals 40.5. 150%, notice it's over 100%. If it was 100% of 27, that would be 27. It's 150% of 27, so notice my number's bigger than 27. Let's try the last one, 12.5% over 100. Anytime we divide by 100, remember we're moving that decimal point 2 places to the right. So it's 0.125 or 125 hundredths. Of means multiply, and we have 64. So 0.125 times 64 equals 8. Moving right along. Second activity, 3.2, determining the whole with a double number line. All right, so here's another strategy. Hank's strategy works. It works all the time. You can continue to use Hank's strategy. This is going to be a double number line strategy, so another tool in your toolbox that I'm going to show you. I want you to practice it and do it here, but ultimately you can decide which strategy you like best. Carla is in charge of designing a way to keep a running total of the money raised by her homeroom for the food bank project. As of today, her homeroom raised $240, which is 60% of their goal. Carla decided to use a double number line to record the money raised and the percent of the goal raised. Now you might see double number lines, things like this for these problems at a concession stand, or if maybe people are keeping track of a fundraising goal and they have it looking like a thermometer or something like that. So there is use for these in the real world and beyond your math world in 6th grade as well. So let's practice. The bottom number line represents the percent of the homeroom goal, and the top represents the amount of money raised. All right, so that's what we know. How did Carla determine the value that corresponds to 10%? How did she get to 10%? Well, to go from 60% to 10%, that's like dividing by 6, right? So if you apply that to the top and divide by 6, 240 divided by 6 would be $40. So she divided by 6. Good. If $240 is 60% of the homeroom goal, what is 100% of the goal? 240 is 60%. What's 100% of the goal? Well, let's see. What if I start here at this 10% and I go to 100%? What would I have to multiply by? I would have to multiply by 10. So if I apply that to the top, 40 times 10, 40 times 10 equals $400. So I know that 100% of the goal, whoops, let's get to the right thing. 100% of the goal is $400. I multiplied 10 by 10 and 40 by 10. Which way of reporting is more informative, the amount of money raised or the percent of money raised? Which one makes the most sense if you're having to tell someone which one is going to be the best one? Would you rather see it as we have 60% of the money raised, or would you rather see 240 out of 400? Sometimes percents are a little bit easier. We're used to seeing like pictures that represent percents, and so sometimes, you know, it's a personal preference, but sometimes pictures can help us understand that one, a little bit more. Let's move on to number 4. Complete each double number line to represent the goals of the other 6th grade homerooms using the information from the table. Write the equivalent dollar amount for each percent. So we've got a table here, and what follows is a double number line for each homeroom. So there you have homeroom 6B, that'd be this guy right there. And then you see you have homeroom 6C, D, E, F. So what they're asking us to do is put all this information on a double number line and then fill out, we know some of the 60%, we know some of the 100%. See if we can figure these out. So let's start with 6B, homeroom 6B. I'm going to scroll out just a little bit here. And here's what we know. We know that 60% is 144. What we're looking for is 100%. So let's zoom back in here and see if we can figure that out. Let's see if we cannot or can't do the same thing that we did on the last one to come up with equivalent ratios and divide to find out what we should have. Let's see. What if we went half? Let's see. I got to get to 100 though, don't I? What if I divide to go from 60 to 20? 60 to 20. I think I can divide by 3 because 6 divided by 3 would give me 2. So I'm wondering if I do the same thing to 144, I get $48. That works. So now I'm wondering if I can take 20 times what gives me 100. Well, I know 20 times 5 gives me 100. So 48 times 5 would equal 240. I think 100% of the goal for homeroom 6B would be $240. Let's go on to C. C, we know that 100% would be $360. So let's put that on there. 100% would be $360. They want to know what would 60% be. We got to get here to this one. Well, I can't take something 100 divided by something to give me 60. So I'm going to have to find a different strategy. I could do what I just did on the last one, go from 100 to 20. To go from 20 to 100, I multiplied by 5, so I wonder if I divide by 5 and divide by 5. Let's see, 360 divided by 5 would be $72. And now I have to get up to 60, so 20 to 60, I could multiply by 3, and 72 by 3 is $216. All right, I think I'm getting the hang of this. Why don't you go ahead and try the next 3. Pause the video and try the next 3 on your own, and then check back and let's see how you did. Okay, let's go through these. 6D had, $288 was 60% of the goal. $288 was 60% of the goal, and they want to know 100%. I'm going to stick with my same strategy, I think. So I'm going to go to 20%. I'm going to divide by 3. And 288 divided by 3 is 96. And now I'm going to multiply by 5 to get $480 as my 100% of the goal. Homeroom 6E, $120 would be 100%, 120. Same strategy. I'm going to divide by 5. I'm going to take 120 divided by 5 to get $24. And then I'm going to multiply by 3, because I'm going from 20 to 60. And 24 times 3 would be $72, would be 60% of the goal. And our final one, 6F, $168 is 60%. $168, we got to get to 100%. I'm going to divide by 3, divide by 3, and 168 divided by 3 is 56. And I'm going to multiply by 5, multiply by 5, and 280 would be 100% of the goal. All right, one more tool in your toolbox of how to find percentages of numbers and percent problems. So take that with you and practice that. You're going to have another clue to solve for your pocketing Pyric, in which you find a percent of a number. And so remember Hank's method here, where we change it to a decimal and of means multiply. That's going to be helpful in solving your next clue. Good luck.